Well, as you may be aware, June is Youth Month here in South Africa, and we're now joined by Wikus Olivier, who's a debt review specialist at Debtsafe, for some tips on how young people can be credit savvy. Good to have you with us as always, Wikus.
Good to be back.
Let's touch on the trends that you've seen, especially when it comes to young people and money. Are we as money savvy as we think we are?
Kids are actually spending cash on all these elaborate things, especially students on brand stuff, and they did a survey to see what students actually spend their money on, and it's things like shoes and takeaways and booze, all those types of things. So they're not saving, they're not putting away money for a later stage or anything, and that starts with the foundation that was laid when they were younger, and that's where we need to start as parents, to educate our kids and to lay the foundation, because obviously you won't build a strong house on a weak foundation, and it's exactly the same with kids and young people and finances.
When is the right time to start then for any parent who wants to teach their child about money? When can they start and how so?
Some people say you can start as early as 3 years old.
Sure.
With basic stuff. And I think that just starts with letting your kids know that they can't spend their pocket money if they don't have enough, or they can't buy things that they can't afford. And that's the basic principle that you need to build your foundation on, not buying things that you cannot afford. I know it's difficult with kids because we love them so much, but you need to draw a line as a parent. And if the kid doesn't have enough pocket money to buy a certain thing, maybe you can make them sort of a deal to where you contribute half and they have to cut grass or something, and work themselves up to earn some extra cash to buy the things, because it also creates a sort of a good work ethic within the kids, and to show them that they need to work for their cash. Mommy and daddy's not going to buy everything for them.
So true, and you're quite right. Parents often find it very difficult because they want to reward their little ones and spoil them and give them things that they didn't potentially have, but it's striking that appropriate balance. I know a lot of parents also struggle with how much is enough pocket money, because for some there might be some extremes, but I take it, is it all relative to how much you can afford and how much you want your child to be exposed to?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, pocket money is definitely a budgeting item on the parents' budget, and that's a thing that you need to plan for in advance as parents. And don't bankrupt yourself to give pocket money to your kids. Work it in so it's reasonable, and then talk to your kids about it, about raises. But the most important part about that pocket money is that it needs to be consistent, because that consistency in the monthly contributions creates the ability for your kids to plan ahead, and that's also one of the most important foundations about financial management, is planning ahead.
Just on that, because obviously budgeting and planning is obviously something that is key and crucial, is it advisable for parents who already have a relationship with a financial planner or financial advisor to involve their children in that, so that they understand that it all starts with the plan, and that there are professional individuals out there to assist you? Yeah,
definitely. Take your kids with to the financial planner and ask him to accommodate them in some way. And it's important to expose your kids to all the financial stuff that's out there. If you go to the ATM, it's a good advice to give them an ATM card and let them withdraw their money themselves at the end of the month, to teach them how the banking system works. Because also when parents swipe credit cards, kids don't see the physical money being exchanged. They see this as invisible money, and it might create the perception that there's a limitless supply of it. They need to understand the physical money behind it, and understand that money is going into a bank account, and then it gets paid out to financial or to the family budget items. It's important for kids to understand the whole system.
On the point of the ATM, I know an interesting story where someone had to explain to their child that I don't have any money, and they said, no, you don't. You have the card, let's go fetch it from that little wall in the machine, referring to the ATM machine. But to touch on something else, in the South African environment, obviously the savings culture, the government is really trying to change that. How can parents use items like the tax-free savings account or ETFs, as measures and additional factors to throw in when it comes to creating wealth for their children?
No, I mean, every tool that's out there, parents need to make use of it. If there's an account like the tax-free savings account, it's not a lot that you're going to gain, but it's something. And that's a principle that you need to teach your kids. Little steps is going to make the huge difference at the end of the day. And to teach them the time value of money, it's also an important principle. It wouldn't have not to teach your kids with a short-term vision, but to teach them to leave your money for a while so it can grow, and teach them about some investment vehicles. If you can, even as a parent, tell them that for each rand that they save, you'll contribute 50 cents of that, to get them motivated to start saving.
And is it ever too late? Because we're really focusing on us younger children now, but what about students? Because as you alluded to in the beginning of this conversation, that's where the problem lies, because they accumulate debt through having kind of store accounts, being very brand conscious, and even through their studies themselves, if they happen to take out a student loan. What kind of measures can you put in place there to help more adult children deal with their finances?
With students, you can have a tough discussion with them and put the realities of the situation in front of them on the table, and that's a thing that parents have to, they've got to do it, because many students get offered clothing accounts, and they don't know how to manage it. They don't know how a loan works. They don't know about interest. They don't know about admin fees and those things on the accounts. And I've even spoken to students that didn't know that they actually have to pay the loan back. They thought it was a mahala thing. So it's important to teach them how loans and debt and those things work, because obviously if they finish their studies and they get that first paycheck, they're going to be exposed to vehicle financing and bonds and all those types of things. And then it's very important for them to understand the basics of credit and how credit works.
No such thing as a free lunch, huh?
No, definitely.
Wikus, thank you so much for your time today. Always a pleasure speaking to you. That was Wikus Olivier, who's a debt review specialist at Debtsafe.